Hi everybody, welcome to another one of my videos. In this one, I wanted to talk about and give my 5 reasons as to why I will never ever go back to the Jehovah's Witnesses. Nope, never. Okay, so we know that the Jehovah's Witnesses teach that everyone who leaves or is disfellowshipped is an absolute horrible person. You know, they've made the worst decision of their life. They're scum now. They're dead. Like, they might as well be dead. And you know, some of the members are thinking, like, I think some of the more hardcore still in members are probably going through their head, you know, oh, how could they hurt Jehovah like that? Oh, I guess they gave in to sin or a temptation, or I guess they must have been leading a double life. Oh, I guess Satan finally got to that one. But, you know, it's always negative, pessimistic. It's never put that person in as negative as a light as possible is basically it. And, you know, and there's this thinking that they try to encourage, but I think a lot of them don't really truly buy it, that, you know, well, we'll just have to see if they accept Jehovah's loving discipline and come to their senses and return to Jehovah. You know? Otherwise realize how stupid we are and then go back. Like, wow. And it's just the whole process of it too. Like, they have to, the whole process somebody has to go through if they want to return to the congregation and be reinstated has always been disgusting and horrible and very harsh and cruel to me. Like, and it's certainly not easy for the people that have gone through it. You know, you have to go alone, sit in the back of the Kingdom Hall. I don't know if they're allowed in before or after the song and prayer. Then they have this, and I believe as soon as the last song and prayer are over, they have to leave immediately. They're not allowed to talk to anybody. They're just going to be treated like they're invisible the entire time that they're in and around the Kingdom Hall. You know, everybody in there has to absolutely avoid and ignore them until they're reinstated. And even then, some of the friendships might never go back to the way they were. Or so-called friendships. I want to get into that one. You know, and the process can take many months and even years. The person can make many requests by letters, but it's totally up to the elders of when that person is reinstated. And it's just, I have actually heard there is like an actual timeline that the elders use. Like, it's an automatic, not at least for 6 months, not at least for a year. I think depending on why they were disfellowshipped, it has nothing to do with having a heart or caring or, you know, wanting them to come back. I kind of sense it's a lot more, well, I guess we'll reinstate them. Yeah, I get this overall feeling they don't really, I think a lot of them, they don't really want them back. You know, biblical examples I think of, what comes to my mind, you know, like the shepherd who, if he has 100 sheep and he loses one, and he goes out and searches for that lost one, but the Jehovah's Witnesses, no. They shun and discard that member at all costs and leaving them out in the elements to die, to basically just suffer and die. Treat them like they never even existed. Or the prodigal son, the other one. When the father runs out to meet his son and welcomes him back with open arms, the Jehovah's Witnesses, no. They subject that person to a harsh, horrible treatment in order to return, and even after they return. They make the whole process very long, painful, torturous. And then, like I said, even after reinstatement, I've heard of many that have found that a lot of the friendships and relationships they had within that congregation will never go back fully to the way it was before they left or were disfellowshipped. It's definitely something I would never subject myself to because of the cruelty of it, and because, well, up and above that, I have no desire to ever return. So here are my 5 reasons of why I will never ever go back. I will never return to Jehovah. Number 5. Okay, I wrote it in my own wording. I remember saying this as a Jehovah's Witness. I don't want to be forever single. Okay, let me explain. Okay, I will admit it. I was always unhappy with the dating process in the Jehovah's Witnesses and how it works. It was just a lot of the circumstances of it too. It was just more that I was baptized when I was 21. When I was 21, and even at that point there were very few single brothers, and there always were, no matter where I went. And I hear that's actually pretty common. Like any single brother was snatched up really quick too. Like, I'm the type, I'm not gonna fight over a guy. Like, they're either interested or they're not. Like, if I have to fight for your attention, you're not worth it in the first place to me. Like, like, that's me. Like, and I always felt like an outcast because it's mostly married couples in the organization, and a lot of them marry at a very young age. Like I said, even entering in my 20s, I found that, like, usually 9 out of 10 were married. Excuse me, sorry. And I found that the older ones into my 30s, the ones that were single basically because they were keeping it that way. They wanted to be single. So I'm just kind of like never bothered in the first place. Like, they're not unlucky to not find somebody. They want to be single. And it's like, yeah, of course. And I also found that this is something that I did notice. Oh yeah. The single brothers that were there were very picky about who they would date. They usually had their eye on somebody. But you know what? I get that, because there's very strict rules to the whole dating, like I said, like, and it's, as I kind of joke sometimes, like, once you're married to somebody, like, you're stuck with that person. Like, I always felt as a Jehovah's Witness that that harsh reality that I just kind of hated, that dating would simply just never really be possible. And because there's always way more single brothers, there's always way more single sisters than there are single brothers. And I have my own, I have a couple circumstances within myself, nothing majorly horrible, but it would make dating a little bit more difficult. But at the same time, I've tried to think of the other side of the coin. Like, I think I saved myself a lot of stress and heartache and being potentially stuck married to the wrong kind of guy for me. So, like, I think I think I kind of helped save myself in a way from a horrible experience too. So that was one of the reasons that was just a part of other reasons that gradually built up why I wanted to leave eventually, because I realized, like, it's not those witnesses would look down on it, but I wanted to be free to date again. Like, in my 30s, I would sit at home sometimes. I'm like, I am in my 30s, and I am not free to date whoever I want. Because you can't date worldly men. Like, so I think it's just, but what it is at the end of the day, it's just a natural desire, and it's not something that I have to feel horrible about as they would want me to be. Okay. Number 4, the reason: conditional love and friendships. Looking back, I wish I had recognized all the love bombing sooner in my early years, like when I was studying even, because there was a lot of, like, even just how they would have a lot of the Bible studies at sisters' homes, because I couldn't have it at home where I lived. But just I would be invited out to dinners more, invited out to events more, a little bit more. Than once I was baptized, it slowly started to die off. I made a lot of friendships. There's a lot of witness friends that I left behind that I truly care about. I still think about them from time to time. I'm not going to bash them as people. I'm really not. They're good people. They're just under mind control, and they're just doing what they're told. And this, they don't want to get into trouble themselves, right? They just, and I think just, they honestly believe that they're doing a loving thing by shunning me in hopes that it will move me to return to Jehovah. But for me, like, yeah, no, the fact that all those friendships ended simply because I chose to leave that religion. I didn't leave God, I left a religion. But for this, they have to treat me like I'm dead. That kind of makes me angry sometimes. But at the governing body and at the elders. I was socially isolated as a Jehovah's Witness, just how because you can't have worldly friends. So I had a lot of JW friends that I lost. But you know what? At the end of the day, I dealt with it emotionally before I left, I would actually say, because it took me a few years to finally actually leave that organization, so I was prepping my mind and heart kind of slowly for that before, because I didn't want that to drive me back into it. You know, I had to know in my heart even before I left, I could never, I can never return to an organization that I know is false just to gain fake friendships back. I just had to let them go. Number 3, I don't want to preach again. That's one of the best reasons. When I left, that was one of my first happy thoughts. I'll never have to preach again. Yes. I never liked preaching, just trying to push my beliefs on others and getting the door slammed in my face many times. Or in my area, it was pretty common for the people to come to their doors as we were approaching, like walking up to their home, and just shouting, "I'm not interested," like before we could even get to their porch or front door. Like I never succeeded in getting somebody to come to a meeting. I did try a few times in my earlier years, but no success. And to be honest, I never even felt too bad about it back then. It was mainly the pioneers who would be putting a ton of effort into that kind of stuff, and it was usually them who would be able to get somebody to come to the meetings. The regular publisher, if they got somebody to come to the meeting, it was usually just a non-believing family member in most cases. And with the recent reduction of the Watchtower and Awakes in the recent years, I have thought to myself, like, if I were still in, I would probably have really reduced how much I go out in service. I probably would have just ultimately used that as an opportunity to go out less and less. Like I said in other videos, I've never felt a strong desire or passion to preach, because I knew it wasn't right to push our beliefs on others, which is what their preaching essentially is. I've heard it said, like, if you really did have the truth, like Jehovah's Witnesses, and what you're teaching is right, you wouldn't need to go knock on doors. People would be coming to you. I agree with that. I felt the same way as to, how it's kind of like all the invitation work was kind of always for nothing, because 0% would show up, and I always knew there was a lot more to it than the people just being stupid, like not interested. Okay, number 2, their false Bible. Let me just say that even though I was not raised as a witness, I was like non-religious growing up, never went to church, so I had no Bible knowledge. My brain has been damaged in that aspect, because I was taught the only Bible that I know the best is their Bible. And yes, there was a time that I will admit I really believed that the New World Translation was the best translation, and more because they told me so. It's the Bible version I'm most familiar with. and its doctrine is ingrained in my brain. Yeah, as I had no prior knowledge before joining the JWs, but now I know better. I have learned just how corrupted and twisted the New World Translation Bible really is, how the Jehovah's Witnesses have changed it to fit their beliefs, which ultimately means that it is a false Bible and the Jehovah's Witnesses are a false religion, spreading a false gospel. And I now am putting much work into learning what the Bible really says and teaches from much better Bible translations. And it's just the damage and repair that I'll have to do from coming out of that, like some of the core beliefs, I still get stuck from time to time on some of it, like, yeah, like, wait, that's not right, oh, that's not how it works, like, oh yeah, yeah, like, sorry Laura, that's not how, yeah, I gotta re-memorize stuff and take it and let it take root in my heart, like it works a different way now, and like, thanks Watchtower. Okay, and my number one reason, they are wrong. Simply put, when I studied and was baptized, I thought I had found the one true religion, that I was finally a true Christian now. And but over the years I was gradually able to pull back the curtain and ultimately switch on my critical thinking, much to their disliking. And you know what? And to discover that, in fact, they are not the one true religion, but a mind-controlling doomsday cult. And the roots of Jehovah's Witnesses are steeped in falsehood, the occult, hiding information, hiding sex abusers and pedophiles, false dates, Masonic ties, pyramidology. The JWs, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they think they're on the narrow path to life, that they got it right, they're doing things right, they're true Christians, but, in reality, they're fooling themselves. Because they are, in fact, on the broad road to destruction. And there's so many of them that have no clue. Their mind is too boxed in to try to think out of the box. Anything outside, oh no, that's Satan system, no. They keep their members in fear and guilt. They promote their false Bible and false Bible and literature, their horrid literature. They deny the deity of Christ, the false dates, all the Armageddon's always coming tomorrow. And just even as a Jehovah's Witnesses, like, you're not truly living and enjoying your life, because you're always like, the new life is coming, when we'll really live, but then you're not living your life now, so in conclusion, just those are my 5 reasons why I will never ever return to the Jehovah's Witnesses. I have more than enough proof that the Watchtower is false, wrong. I have done all the thinking and research I ever will of if I'd ever return. And yes, it's never. There's no way in my right mind and in my right conscience that I could ever go back to that mind controlling doomsday cult who will only doom my soul to destruction. And you know what? And guess what, Watchtower? I'm not miserable and unhappy and suicidal like you tell all your members that I am or should be. You know what? I'm not. Sorry to disappoint you. You know, like, I am finally free. I am finally truly happy. And it's one of the best decisions. I know it's one of the most firm, passionate decisions that I have made in my life. Like, I just know, I know that there is nothing that would ever make me go back. Ever. And that was it. Those are my 5 reasons. Yep. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed watching my video. Thank you for watching. Have a great night, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.